Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting. Tonight is February 8th, 2018, and we welcome everyone. First on the agenda is the order and assignment of the town meeting warrant articles. And I would like to open the discussion to my colleagues and also to Mrs. Pugach, to Mr. Ramsey. You're thinking about, we were perhaps leaning towards putting a couple, 3 articles up after the boilerplate articles so that we could generate the discussion early on in the meeting and resolve those 2 or 3 items and then move on into the rest of the meeting. And it gives Mr. Rapetti, welcome tonight, Mr. Rapetti, gives Mr. Rapetti an opportunity to get a sense for how long the town meeting is going to go. It's a wonderful way, I think, of setting this up, but I would love to open this to both my colleagues, what your feelings are on that, and also Mrs. Pugach, kind of what the history has been and how this has been done.
Well, yeah, typically building projects, construction, renovation, they fall somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, the boilerplates are usually first and last. I know last year the moderator made a very wise decision to alter because of the controversy or the discussion around a lot of these few articles, so they were moved up quite early. But in typical meetings, we don't have such controversial articles usually. Yeah, they fall somewhere. So yeah, wherever you all decide what makes sense.
You know, the feedback we got from last town meeting, the positive feedback we got from last town meeting was our ability to shorten the beginning of the meeting, because a lot of people, I think we have difficulty getting a quorum because citizens are waiting for some of the opening remarks to finish before they come. So I would suggest if we can do something similar again for the opening of town meeting. That was really well received. Also, I think limiting the amount of time of the presentations, because it can take, in the past, it's taken almost an hour before you even voted on one item. So again, I got positive feedback from town citizens about the time management of the presentations as well as the opening comments. So I think that's something, if we could continue with,
I think that's a great idea.
would
I
be
agree.
great. I also wholeheartedly agree that, you know, we probably this year have 3 articles that will warrant a significant amount of discussion, and I would agree to move those up.
Okay.
Fast, you know, right after. So it looks like we have 10 boilerplate
Right.
articles, and then to immediately follow with the 3.
So would you suggest, I think there is still some time that we might decide of the 2 warrant articles related to Carroll Community Center, we might decide to put one in front of the other or the other in front of the other. And that can be a later decision, I think.
Right.
But my recommendation would be that items number 16 and 17 become 11 and 12. And then perhaps, I think by the 3rd article, we're talking about the hydrology study.
Right.
Maybe make that number 13. Does that work for you?
It does, and I liked, Jim, the idea of last year limiting the number of presentations for and against to 2. I think there were 2-minute, 3-minute presentations, and then which really gave everybody clarity, comfort, a very good sense of background on the particular warrant article, and then move right to the
Discussion.
90-second discussion. And quite frankly, I think what the proof in the pudding was the measure got moved to a vote
Right.
shortly after discussion on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, actually, I think it was about, we gave them 10 minutes each.
Right, that's what I recall.
And then we limited comments from the floor to 2 minutes. And yeah, if you think that worked well, we can do that again.
I'd love to see 90 seconds.
Yeah,
I think it worked very well.
I did too. And I think everyone seemed to appreciate it.
right. I had, it was interesting, a few people who were cut off, I think, were upset about it, but they understood also that it was the only way we could move the meeting.
Right.
You mean cut off by when the vote was moved, when we had a motion to move to the vote, or just cut off because of the 2 minute?
Some of it, the 2 minutes, and then you may recall that there was one presentation by proponents for an article that I had to stop them after 10 minutes, and they had other people that they wanted to speak.
That's right.
But I think, the key is that everybody should rehearse.
Right.
Right.
And it's incumbent upon them
Yeah.
to have that down to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think rehearsing is important, and everything always takes longer than you
Right.
think. That quite frequently, if you read something, it's about half of the time
Right.
that's required when you're presenting it verbally.
Right.
So that if somebody can read something in 5 minutes, it's quite likely that presenting it verbally will be 10 minutes.
Well, unfortunately, it's a dynamic process, as we learned last year in
Right.
our assignments, when we are, as a board, assigned the different warrant articles. In 2 instances for us, when we got to our particular articles, looking out at the citizens in the room and in the citizens in the outer room, you have to have an understanding of who you're speaking to, the time of the evening, the essence of the motion, and quite frankly, in 2 of our presentations, we elected not to use any slides, to go immediately to
That's right.
the discussion. So you have to know your audience at the time, and you also have to know how much information has been disseminated at that moment in time. So I think I think you did a great job. I think you always do a great job. So congratulations. And quite, we all know, and those of you following at home know, that there were some contentious articles last year. So 10 minutes I think is very fair. And I think as long as you're balanced and fair, then it's appropriate.
I think there may be 1 or 2 groups that are sponsoring articles that are already rehearsing.
Oh, good, good. You can never rehearse too much.
So, Mrs. Pugach, do you think of any other one that should be grouped, for example, with the 3 that we've moved to the, up behind 10?
Well, and I know that the regions, the articles for their capital improvements and equipment, I mean, that's somewhere in the middle, and 14 would have to usually go in front of 15. I understand that the intermunicipal agreement appears to be in process of getting signature, as it has the past several years, so they just have to stay together, and because if the one doesn't pass, then we have to consider the borrowing, and, yeah, but vice versa.
But in tandem, you could move those together to a spot, as long as they're sequentially come one before the other.
I mean, it's, yeah, so it's a, moderator's meeting, so I mean, I don't know what your sense on that is in terms of.
For the capital budget for the school?
Yeah, for the, the 20-year plan, and how they every year have a list of items. And then we do an intermunicipal agreement. It's one option, and the town of Dover pays out free cash. Or the other is the entire cost go out to borrow. And that second one is typically dismissed if there's an intermunicipal agreement.
Right, but I guess I don't understand, the question is whether we should move it up earlier in the meeting, or?
Yeah, or I guess if it would go after these others, since, or not, I don't know, whether that's.
Is it likely to be controversial?
No.
No.
It's a very small amount.
Yeah, it's a small amount. I don't.
It's just 580.
That's the total. Our share is only
Share is
50.
those, right?
Yeah, I think that the only thing that I would worry about as a moderator is that having the controversial articles or potentially controversial articles earlier enables me to make a judgment about how much time we have left until I should suspend the meeting. And that's why I did it last year, because I was worried that if I didn't have, by 10 o'clock, I wanted to be able to make a decision whether we should move forward or stay and try to get through. So my only litmus test really is for the controversial articles to come earlier rather than later.
Okay.
And in saying that, I just want to remind anybody who might be watching that after an article is considered, there's always a chance for reconsideration. So that after your favorite article is considered, you should still stay and until the meeting is adjourned, because as we saw last year, an article might come up again for reconsideration.
It's a great point.
There may also be discussion on the demolition review bylaw amendment.
Right.
And there may also be discussion, since these are new, entirely new, ban on plastic bags, commercial use of plastic bags. So I just offer that to you as, you know, I know that could generate some discussion.
I think that will definitely generate.
The Conservation Commission fund, you know, that's an annual funding, and that just seems to go right along. And the open space and rec plan, it has to be revised in order for the town to be eligible for particular grants, et cetera. So we know which ones might create more discussion.
So you raise a good point. Would it make sense then we've talked about 11, 12, and 13, would it make sense to make the demolition bylaw and then the plastic bags be number 14 and 15, and then for 16, go back to number 11 and do the balance of articles straight down? Conservation, open space, the other ones. Do all 5 that we think might generate some discussion together? What's everyone's feeling?
What is the demolition?
Well, go ahead, no, go ahead.
I believe that the gist of it is that
Oh,
any
right there.
buildings on a rolling basis that are older than 50 years old could, you know, would be reviewed by the historical commission to see if there was any historical value that should delay the demolition. I think that also would include renovations and alterations and so forth. It's a rolling 50 years right now, I think it's 1929, is that correct?
It's not rolling right now, it's being
That's
proposed.
what I mean, it's a set 1929, but they would do this changes over, you know, rolling basis. I don't know whether that would generate discussion or not.
Well, we
But
could
it's
certainly,
new.
I was going to say, we could certainly assume that it would, and put it number 14, and put plastic bags number 15, and then let everything else follow.
I think the plastic bags are going to generate more discussion.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Historical 14, and citizens petition for plastic bags 15.
Keep the hydrology study,
That's
Three.
number 13.
Well, 13.
13.
Right. And then number 16 becomes Conservation Commission. Right?
And then we just go
It just
from
right
there.
in order.
Right.
How does that sound?
That works.
Sounds good? Does that sound good to you, Mr. Rotati?
I think that's a good idea. I think that would work well.
And this can be reviewed again. Am I right?
Sign the warrant next meeting.
You sign the warrant next meeting, right, so preferably that we could keep them in this order, but the way that it's formatted will allow if there's some reason for a last minute change, we can actually make that happen.
One other item in connection with expediting the meeting is also, and certainly I don't expect a decision tonight, but you might want to consider it over the next few weeks, is whether we should use clickers again for counting the vote. And just mention that now and think about it. I've been thinking about it and talking to the town clerk about it, and I think it would be, because it is an additional cost, that's a consideration. And it also consideration that it does speed things up.
It went much faster.
And it got very positive feedback.
Right. It's, particularly when we have votes that are requiring 2/3 or a supermajority, it saves the standing count. And
Jim, what was the cost?
I think it was 15,000. if I
But
remember.
I wouldn't expect having that many people at this town meeting.
Yeah.
We had 3 rooms
We had
full,
3 rooms
right,
prepared.
right.
Right.
The one piece that I would love to suggest, if in fact we decide to go with the clickers, is that we bring the personnel connected with the clickers in.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Right.
the woman at the front was golden. She kept making it work. She kept bringing the information to us.
Right.
She was able to troubleshoot anything that went wrong.
Right.
It was a great comfort to have her there.
I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Right.
No,
Right.
because I think that's the number one priority.
Yeah, me too.
Is to have the technical assistance there.
Yep,
Otherwise,
yeah. Right.
Well, maybe Felicia could get us costs again.
You can do that
Right.
if you'd like.
Right.
And
I think
then-
it's hard to make a decision without knowing,
Oh,
yeah, what the
okay.
cost is.
Yeah, I think that would just take a phone call or two. I think there are 2
Right.
primary companies that do that.
And then we'll have
Offering
to,
on-site support.
right, and then we'll just have to guess how many people we're gonna get.
Do you have any sense, Mr. Rupetti, of this year's attendance?
I don't, but I think as we start to have more hearings,
Uh-huh.
we can get a better idea of what the
Great.
interest is. And then we can make a judgment. I suspect that, well, we'll see. We'll see. But, there's always a trade-off, unfortunately. The clickers do speed things along. The negative is that you lose the opportunity for people to express their vote in public, and there's something to be said for that as well. I think unfortunately in this day and age where everybody's so busy, that the expediting the process is a fairly high priority for a lot of people. And, but it is definitely a trade-off. We do lose something with the clickers as well. So,
When is our meeting in the town, the meeting for
The open hearing.
open hearing?
The night,
March.
right, 19th, I believe.
Yep,
Is it too late by then to be able to order, to get a sense of?
No.
We'd have to have them ordered and available, and
I think we have to call the company and find out. I don't think so.
I don't think we made the decision until about March last year. Is that right?
yeah, if I remember correctly, I think we waited till right after the Warren open hearing, and then we made the order, but we had been in communication with them before.
Yes, and we could do that.
I think you get a very good sense at the open hearing
Yeah.
as to what articles are going to be contentious, what articles are going to have, to your point earlier, what articles are going to have preparation in, that's going to require that 10 minutes on either side.
Right.
There won't be many, but if there are 5, then you've got to plan 5 10-minute presentations. So you've got an hour right there in
Right.
Those.
Actually, it might be 100 minutes, because if there's a
Double.
10-minute proponent and a
Yeah.
10-minute opponent.
Right, well, that's just one side of it.
Right.
So the better part of 2 hours is taken up in 5 articles.
Right. That's right.
Which is pretty much what happened last year.
Right. If you can get a sense that instead of being 5, that there are 3, makes a big difference. But if there are 5, which I think, based upon our discussion tonight and the quick math of moving things around, there could be 6 or 7.
It's also possible, as you said, you made such a good point about time is of the essence for many people today. It's an interesting possibility that having clickers may actually draw more people to the town meeting,
Right.
knowing that it's going to move well, it's going
That's
to
an
move
excellent point,
efficiently.
right.
We might end up with people who are very willing to give that evening.
Right. No, I think that's true. I mean, people, a lot of people have commented to me afterwards that they appreciated the fact that we were able to get it done in one night.
Right.
And, particularly for parents of young children and for elderly people like myself who don't want to stay up too late.
Well, the other thing people liked was to be able to vote in private, so to speak. So they did not feel uncomfortable that they were standing up next to their neighbor who may have a different opinion to them.
I was so impressed recently, looking on Wiki, that in Massachusetts, of our 356 communities, 300 still have direct democratic annual town meetings for their primary form of governance. 300. That's remarkable. So it's an honorable tradition, even if we do somewhat modify it to accommodate people.
We're changing with the times.
Yeah, all right.
It's the purest form of democracy.
That's right.
It really is.
It really is. It really, really is.
Well, is there anything additional that we need to do tonight, other than consider this and then we'll vote at our next meeting? Is that it, or would you like the order established tonight?
We'll say that this appears to be the order, and unless something hasn't been thought of this evening that arises, this should pretty much stand. And then we would just assign any selectmen's articles, if there are articles that the selectmen are sponsoring or they wish to speak to. So, I mean, that's the other thing, just so that it's clear who's doing, handling what.
Okay, wonderful.
I think the first order of business for the selectmen is going to be to get the moderator a high-top chair. So like one of those Veridesk type things. We can take a little pressure off of your back.
The stool worked very well last year.
Right.
Thank you, Greer. Mona worked very well. Thanks for the help with that. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, was it easier to have the screen above your head? I remember in prior years, the screen, you've almost been ducking behind
Right.
the podium. That seemed a little better last year.
That did.
Yeah.
It did. And, I thought everything went well. The only negative, I think, last year was that the lighting was a little bit difficult for people who were up front speaking, trying to read their notes. I know some people had difficulty with that because of the lighting. And I don't know whether they could maybe put some lamps or something. If you have the spotlight coming from the balcony, I think that can blind a lot of people. But if there was some other way to have some ambient lighting down by the stage, that people would be able to read their notes a little bit more easily. I thought that was a problem for some people. I felt badly that they were struggling with that.
We could work on that with our IT guy, AV, and possibly DSCTV to see what physical changes may be made to create better lighting.
It might even be where we have if we set up the microphones again on either side, if we could put lecterns
On both sides.
on both sides and then have a light mounted on the lectern so that somebody could lay their notes on the lectern and the light would illuminate it for them. That would make it much easier for them to be able to keep track of their comments as they're proceeding.
We can certainly look into that. We have at least one here. I'm sure the school must have one, so
Okay.
we can look into that.
That would be great, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, that would be wonderful.
Good. Well, then, if everyone's fine, we'll vote on this at our next meeting.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Mr.
Can I
Petty,
just-
thank you so much for coming.
Hey, Jim.
Bye. It's wonderful. Moving on, we have other business. Let me turn to our master of special licenses, because unlike last week, which only had 3,
Three.
you are Ready to go.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. The highlight of our evening this evening. But look, we should mention, for those of you at home, if you have not been to Powesett Farm, which you will see, the majority of this evening's special event licenses are for Powesett Farm. You have to get to Powesett Farm. It's a beautiful place. It really, really is a great destination with a fabulous opportunity to see what great things are being done at the farm. So, without any further ado, Madam Chair, on retroactively February 6th at the Connor Center, an event that took place for a training on-site, March 3rd, wedding at Powesett Farm, May 13th, Mother's Day brunch at Powesett Farm, May 28th, Powesett Farm trail race, June 3rd, Spring Festival, Powesett Farm, June 17th, Father's Day banquet, Powesett Farm, June 29th, Friday farm dinner at Powesett Farm, July 7th, a wedding at Elm Bank, July 13th, Friday farm dinner at Powesett Farm, July 27th, Friday farm dinner, Powesett Farm, August 10th, Friday farm dinner, August 27th, Friday farm dinner, Powesett Farm, September 7th, Friday farm dinner, Powesett Farm, September 21st, Friday farm dinner, October 13th, Friday farm dinner, all at Powesett Farm.
Do I have a motion?
Move
I
that
make
be-
a motion to accept all 15 special licenses.
Thank you, second.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll sign these afterwards.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we congratulate the bride at Elm Bank? Do we know who that is?
I have some announcements to make and an appointment, an interim appointment. We did hear from Amy Moot of Open Space, and Eric Crussell is needing to resign at this particular point, and filling out his 3-year term, which will end this coming June, is Fred Hartman. So thanks very much to Eric for his service, and also to Fred for filling in. And then come June, if Fred is interested in continuing, I know Amy will take care of that appointment. We'll help with that in June. Also, we did not realize, but that Paul Wood, who has been a dedicated member of Open Space for many, many years, was due to be reappointed officially in June of last year. So we're a little bit late in that, but we are appointing Paul Wood, thank you, Paul, back to Open Space for the term of 2017, ending in 2020. So I would like to move that we nominate and appoint Eric and also Paul Wood. I'm sorry, not Eric, thank you very much, but Fred Hartman and Paul Wood for Open Space.
Second.
All in
Seconded.
favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you all. We are going to approve both the open session meeting minutes from the 25th of January, and from that evening, the executive session meeting minutes. Did you all have an opportunity to review?
Did.
We did.
Did you have any questions?
None. Mona, fabulous job. Once again, thank you very much. I move, Madam Chair, that we accept the minutes of the board meeting, January 25th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And how about the executive session?
Executive session. Madam Chair, I move that we accept the minutes of the executive session from January 25th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again, Mona. Wonderful. And seeing no citizens in the audience, I don't think we have citizens' comments. Do either of you have any?
Well, we could have some comments,
Yes, we
but
could. Do you have anything? Would you like to
I do
add?
not.
No, we're
Groundhog saw his shadow.
today's living proof of the 6 weeks of
Yes.
winter.
Yes.
Of the ice.
Keeps
Can I
running
just
around.
say, Madam Chair, that I was out this morning at my 405 walk, and the roads were already being treated.
Wow.
So our hats off to Craig Hughes. They did a terrific job this morning. It was really very, very icy. So with rain and then the freezing temperatures at night, and then Craig's team, and of course, you watching at home, you know that we go through these mundane things like salt and sand and paying for things, and this was an example today. It was really they did a great job.
And we do receive wonderful letters of commendation for Craig Hughes and the work that he does. I mean, over and over and over again, the citizens chime in with what amazing work, and our roads are just the best.
They
We're so
are.
lucky.
And
So lucky.
Bobby Tosi and the gentleman
Well,
who
it's the whole crew.
maintained
It's the whole crew,
the whole crew, keeping the
absolutely.
trucks running.
That's right, that's right.
Well done.
We are going to go, we need to go to executive session, and so I would like to move that we go to executive session. We will not be returning to open session at the close of this. I'd like to take a vote. Are you?
A poll, yep.
Yes, executive
Purpose
session?
for collective bargaining.
Yes, okay. And the purpose is for collective bargaining, right? Yes?
In favor, yes.
And I'm in favor. So we will be adjourning and not returning for open session, but going on to executive session. Good night and have a good couple of weeks. Thank you.
That rhymed. We're adjourning and not returning.
That's right.